Attention passionate Cleveland, BROWNS. Latest news, something big is happening in the AFC North and it could change the game. We're talking about a direct impact on Cleveland Browns' path to another Super Bowl run, a power shift that could leave a division rival stumbling for years. We're bringing this to you firsthand. But before that, if you're a true Cleveland Browns fan, subscribe to the channel to strengthen this passion even more. Show that you're also part of this family. Let's help each other reach 1,000 subscribers. Share with your FRINDS and Cleveland, BROWNS. Let's get to the news now, guys. If you've been paying close attention to the Browns lately, you already know that the team is at a very interesting crossroads. We're entering what could be a pivotal season for Cleveland, not just in terms of their on-field success, but also in the way they're shaping their roster for the future. And one of the most talked about topics right now is the situation surrounding tight end David Njoku. You see, Njoku is entering the final year of his contract, and with the team still rebuilding and trying to find their footing in this new era, everything is on the table. Should they keep him? Should they trade him? That's what everyone's discussing, and it's no surprise that this story is gaining ground among fans and analysts alike. So let's take a deeper dive into what's happening with Njoku, what it means for the Browns, and how this could influence the entire AFC North. Because, believe me, this isn't just about one player. It's about the bigger picture, the future of Cleveland's roster, and how they're positioning themselves in this very competitive league. And as we go through this, I want you to keep in mind that the Browns have been on an interesting trajectory these past few seasons. They've made significant moves, brought in new talent, and are trying to turn the page from a long history of struggles. But with that comes tough decisions, especially when it comes to players like Njoku, who, despite being an essential part of the team, might be viewed as a trade asset to build for the future. Let's start with a quick look at Njoku himself. Selected in the first round of the 2017 NFL Draft, he's been a vital part of Cleveland's offense for years. When the Browns picked him, there was a lot of buzz about his potential. A tall, athletic tight end with reliable hands and the ability to block in the trenches, Njoku has grown into one of the league's more dependable all-around tight ends. While he's not quite on the level of elite players like George Kittle or Travis Kelce, he's certainly a significant contributor. Over the past season, he finished with 64 receptions for 505 yards and 5 touchdowns in just 11 games, showing his durability and his importance in Cleveland's passing game. And here's where the discussion gets interesting. The Browns might be considering whether to retain Njoku beyond this season or to explore trade options. The reality is that he's now 29 years old, and with the team still in a bit of a rebuilding phase, they may prioritize future draft picks over a guy who's closer to the end of his prime. It's a common scenario in the NFL, teams weighing the benefits of holding onto experienced veterans versus trading them for assets that can help in the long term. And in Cleveland's case, with the front office always aiming to build a sustainable winner, they might see Njoku as a valuable trade chip, especially if they can get a decent return. Now, interestingly, some NFL insiders, like Bleacher Report's Matt Holder, have suggested that the Carolina Panthers could be in the market for a tight end, and Njoku could be a perfect fit for what they're trying to do. The Panthers, who drafted quarterback Bryce Young and are trying to establish a competitive offense, are still figuring out their weapons, particularly at the tight end position. Last season, they leaned heavily on young players like Jatavian Sanders, a promising rookie but still somewhat unproven, especially after suffering a neck injury that limited his production. Sanders caught just 4 passes for 40 yards in 5 games after returning from injury, so adding a veteran like Njoku might be exactly what they need to stabilize the position and provide some veteran leadership. And this is where the Browns' decision becomes even more critical. Because while Njoku could certainly bring immediate value to a team like Carolina, offering experience, reliability, and a matchup nightmare for defenses, Cleveland has to evaluate whether trading him makes sense for their long-term plans. The Panthers, with a young quarterback like Bryce Young, are looking for someone who can help develop the passing game, and Njoku's skill set fits that bill perfectly. He's a physical, athletic tight end who can stretch the field and make tough catches, qualities that any young QB would thrive with. But let's not forget, Njoku isn't just a pass-catching threat. He's also an excellent blocker, which is crucial in today's NFL, especially for teams that want to establish the run or protect their quarterback. Cleveland's offensive line has been improving, and Njoku's presence helps in both the passing and running game. So, a team like Carolina, which is trying to build an explosive offense, could see him as a key piece to accelerate their progress. That's why the potential trade scenario isn't just about a player moving from one team to another, it's about how that move could shift the balance of power in the division. Now, let's talk a little about what the Browns might be thinking. They could be weighing the pros and cons of moving Njoku at this point. On one hand, they could get a decent draft pick or multiple picks in return, which could help accelerate their rebuild. On the other hand, losing a veteran like Njoku could impact their offensive chemistry and leadership, especially with the young players they have on the roster. And of course, there's always the question of whether they believe they can re-sign him next year or if the price for a new contract would be too steep. Another aspect to consider is the current quarterback situation in Cleveland. The Browns are in a bit of a quarterback crossroads, with Deshaun Watson trying to find his rhythm after a turbulent start in Cleveland. The team has also brought in other options, like Dorian Thompson-Robinson and Joshua Dobbs, but the battle for the starting role is far from settled. So, any move involving Njoku could also be linked to how the Browns see their offensive future, especially if they're looking for ways to support their young or interim quarterbacks. And speaking of quarterbacks, it's interesting to note that Cleveland's front office has been very strategic in building around their signal callers. They've invested in the offensive line, added weapons in the draft, and now, with the possibility of trading Njoku, they might be looking to draft or acquire a tight end that better fits their long-term vision. They could be eyeing someone like a young, promising tight end in the upcoming draft, or maybe they're considering free agents who could fill that role. Either way, Njoku's future with the Browns is very much up in the air, and it's a storyline that's going to be developing over the next few weeks. Now, let's take a step back and look at the bigger picture. Cleveland's roster construction has been a topic of discussion for quite some time. They've made some smart moves, like adding playmakers on both sides of the ball, but they've also faced challenges, especially in maintaining consistency and staying healthy. The team has a lot of young talent, including players like Myles Garrett, Denzel Ward, and a promising core of offensive skill players. But they still need to fill some gaps, and the tight end position is one of them. Whether Njoku stays or goes, this offseason is going to be crucial for Cleveland's future direction. And let's not forget the division rival aspect. The AFC North is one of the most competitive divisions in the NFL, with teams like the Baltimore Ravens, Pittsburgh Steelers, and Cincinnati Bengals all vying for supremacy. Any shift in the Browns' roster, especially at key positions like tight end, could tilt the scales in this fierce rivalry. If Cleveland manages to keep a solid core and make smart moves, they could position themselves as serious contenders in the upcoming season. But if they decide to trade Njoku and don't replace him adequately, that could open the door for their rivals to take advantage. So, what's the overall outlook? Well, the Browns are clearly at a strategic point. They have to decide whether to push all in for this season or to start building for the future more aggressively. Trading Njoku could be part of a broader plan to acquire draft capital and rebuild the roster with younger, cheaper players. Or, they might see Njoku as a vital part of their offensive puzzle and choose to keep him, especially if they believe he can help develop their young quarterbacks and contribute to a winning culture. It's a complex situation, and one that will be closely watched by fans and analysts alike. As we look ahead, one thing is certain: the Browns are not standing still. They're always looking for ways to improve and stay competitive. Whether that involves trading players like Njoku or making strategic draft picks, their goal remains clear: to finally put an end to the long drought and bring a Super Bowl championship back to Cleveland. This offseason could be the turning point, and all eyes are on what they do with their roster, especially with key players like Njoku. It's a story that's still unfolding, and I can't wait to see how it develops. And now, Cleveland Browns fans, I want to hear from you. What's your take on the potential trade of David Njoku? Do you think the team should keep him or look to move on and focus on the future? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Your opinion matters so much to us and to the Cleveland Browns. And don't forget, I'll be back soon with more updates, so stay tuned for the latest Cleveland Browns news. We're in this together, and I can't wait to see what's next for our beloved team. Thanks for watching, and go Browns!